everyone, it's Chris here. I'm going to talk to you guys today about some updates that I'm making to my hiking gear. A few things that I decided to update after I did my last trip down on the overland track in Tassie a few months back in February. I've got a couple of upcoming trips, one next weekend which is at the Baripmo Walk, which is in Western Victoria. That's just going to be an overnight hike over a weekend, and then following that I'm going up to the Grampians Peaks Trail, which is over 2 nights, and that's going to be at the end of July. So made some decisions on updating a few bits of gear in my kit, and mainly it's focused at the moment around just some changes to the water filtration system and I guess water carrying system, as well as the bits of cooking gear that I've been using. I decided to make some updates to that as well. So I'll take you through each of these bits of new gear that I've just recently got and show you what it's actually replacing in what I took last time. So probably starting out with water filtration. So when I went on the overland track, basically to treat water, I was actually just using the chlorine dioxide tablets. So usually, one or two of these would go into every litre of water. And that was just, that was working really well. Obviously kills any bacteria and viruses in the water. And usually what I was doing was just using a bottle like this. I actually had another one of these down on the overland track, which I lost right at the end of the trip. I don't know, it just fell out of the side pocket of my pack right at the end of the trip. And I was just basically using this as essentially a dirty water bottle, putting one or two tablets in that and just treating my water that way. And once that was done, that would just go into the platypus bladder. I'm still going to be using this. I really like it. It's I found it to be really useful and convenient, just having that sitting in the little bladder pocket within my pack, and just being able to sip water at any time while I'm hiking. So that's going to be staying with me, which is good. That's a 3 litre bladder. And what is now going to be replacing the way that I filter my water, what I recently went and purchased was a couple of these. They're Balance water bottles. They're 1 litre bottles. They're actually really light. I've just changed over the caps on those. They've got just these sort of flip top sports caps, because I'll use them actually on some trips just for actual drinking as well. But the idea is I'll probably take just one of these on the upcoming trip next weekend. And to filter water, I've actually just had this arrive yesterday from the US, which is this Sawyer micro squeeze. I've done a lot of research online about these and just seen other hikers that had been using them, mainly on sort of long distance hikes. And this just sounds like a really good filter. Everyone kind of swears by how well they work. So this, literally just arrived in the post yesterday. Bought that off Amazon. And essentially, this is the micro squeeze. So that's it's kind of, I think, the 3rd generation of the Sawyer water filter, which the first one was the Sawyer squeeze, still pretty popular filter, and that's it's a larger version of this. Then there was another one called the Mini, and that is I decided to go with the micro because the Mini is apparently also good because of the size, but this is just I think the best of both worlds between the Mini and the original Sawyer squeeze, in that you get a really good flow rate through this. So I won't really do a full review of this because there's plenty of other reviews online about this, but I was really looking forward to being able to use this. So essentially that just screws onto the either one of your bottles. You just screw it onto the end of that with your dirty water in it and squeeze it out, and I'll just filter that into my water bladder. And it's versatile as well. It comes with its own little squeeze bag, so you can put dirty water into that as well. And there's a couple of other little bits and pieces, and you can just back flush the whole thing as you're going along as well. And that's also why I put these caps on, because I can actually back flush the filter with these caps on there. So yeah, looking forward to that one. That'll be a good sort of test on as to how that goes on my upcoming hike next weekend. So that pretty much is the way that my water system or filtration system is changing. So the other thing is just around the cooking setup that I have been using and what I'll now use. So when I was down on the overland track, I found that the pot and stuff I was using was actually probably a little bit big. So the one I was using was this, it's an Edelrid, just a pot with a lid on it. And that was, it's still a good size. It's not super heavy, but I just found it was probably a little bit big for what I really needed, and it takes up a lot of room in the pack too. I was able to put a few things in there like my stove and a couple of other bits and pieces like my spork and so on. But what I wanted to change that to was something a little bit smaller, that was a bit more compact and probably a bit lighter as well. So what I have replaced that with is this titanium. It's a Keith titanium cook pot. Comes in its own little sort of stuff sack. And this is a 900ml pot. And it's really light. It's only, I think this weighs about 120 grams from memory. Really lightweight, good size as well. Obviously has the flip out handles on it, so that's just really convenient for when you're cooking and stuff. And I sort of thought this is perfect size for what I really needed in terms of when I'm because mainly I use the pot for boiling water more than anything else, so it'll just heat water more quickly as well. And I bought a couple of other things. This was probably a bit of a happy coincidence, but I'm swapping out the cup that I was using. It was just a standard sort of plastic cup, which was pretty light as well. But I decided to just get one of these Sea to Summit collapsible silicone cups, and that's also, I guess, about just being able to sort of make my pack a little bit more compact. This was probably a bit of a happy coincidence, because I didn't even sort of check this when I bought these items, but this actually, when it's all folded down, just fits really neatly inside the pot. So that's just a perfect fit to go in the bottom there. And then in terms of the gas that I take, or the fuel, one of these fits in there really easily. So that's a smaller 100-gram fuel canister, and I can just put the pot lid back on that, and everything's sort of contained in there, which is pretty neat. Even if I use a larger fuel canister, which is the 230-gram, that will still fit in there. The only thing is the lid won't quite go on, but I just pack it with the lid at the bottom when I put it back in the little bag once I'm packing it up. So it all is very neat in terms of maximum use of space, so I'm very happy with that. And I guess the other thing I was able to ditch as part of the cook setup as well was just the pair of grips that I had for the pot. So the fact that the Keith mug has it, or the pot I should say, has its own handles on it, there's no need to carry these anymore, so that's a piece of gear that can be left at home as well. So that's the cook system anyway. So looking forward to giving that a try out and see how that goes. The other thing that I just changed about in terms of what I eat with, I guess, was pretty simple change, but I was using this spork, and on a lot of the trips that I was doing previously on the overland track was, and actually down at Wilson's Prom as well, I just found that when I was using this, even when you sort of rip the top portion off the dehydrated meals, it's still quite short, and you kind of find you dipping your hand down into the bag, and you kind of, it's a small thing, but you just kind of getting your hand sort of buried in the bag and getting dirty. So I decided to actually replace it with a longer handled spoon. I wasn't really fussed if it was a spoon or a spork, and that's a Sea to Summit spork, and again that's just really lightweight. I'm pretty sure that's titanium, but yeah, really lightweight. It actually came with a little carabiner as well. I'm not sure what I'll use that for, but you can actually hang that on the end of the spoon as well. So that's just having that longer handle on it. It's just going to be, you know, a bit better for you know, dipping down into those dehydrated meal bags. Just to, yeah. Plus it's, you know, nice and light. The last piece of gear I'm changing out for the next couple of hikes is the knife that I take with me. The last couple of times I've actually had a full Swiss Army knife, and I've just found that all of the things in here, most of them I don't actually even use. So it's kind of unnecessary weight which I just don't need to carry. So I'm going to leave that out of my kit from now, and I've decided to change it out with just a single knife. So I've got a replacement which is the Petzl Sparta knife, and that's much lighter weight. I think it's mainly used by people for climbing and so on. They use it for cutting ropes and that sort of stuff. But just a single blade. It's got an area that's got a serrated edge on it as well, and you know, pretty lightweight. Just really all I need for hiking, and that's also got like this sort of hole up the top. So if you wanted to, you know, hang it off a carabiner, or you know, loop some rope through it or something to carry it, you've got the option to do that as well. So that's pretty much the update to the pieces of gear that I've changed out, and I'm going to be testing those out on the next couple of hikes next weekend and also in July. So we'll see how they go when I'm out there. And yeah, I wanted to do a couple of other hikes in winter just to test out some of my gear in the colder weather. I'm interested to see how my sleeping pad sort of goes out there. It's actually an ultralight pad, so I'm just going to see how it sort of performs in lower temperatures. See if it still stands up to the colder weather and keeps me warm. So yeah, I've got that Baritmo walk coming up next weekend, and I'll be doing some more filming out there as well of how that hike goes. So I'll see you guys out on the trail.